What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Week 1 edition of DraftKings NFL Tournament Plays presented by Prize Picks. I'm your host, Adam Scherer. You can follow me on Twitter at ShipMyMoney's DFS. And be sure to click the link below to claim up to a $100 first match deposit bonus at Prize Picks. Be sure to check out their site this NFL season. Similarly to what I did with NBA and MLB, I'm going to be taking a look at 3 of the top tournament stacks for DraftKings tournaments using the top stacks tool on the Stokastic.com website. Starting with number 3, the Miami Dolphins are hosting the New England Patriots. The Dolphins are 3.5-point favorites. They have a 24.8 implied total. Tua Tagovailoa is projected for 4% ownership. The stack has a 7% chance of being the top scoring stack and a 6% chance of being the top value stack. I think the sentiment on Miami is kind of interesting. It seems like people are really down on Tua, but obviously he has a lot of talent around him. You have Jalen Waddle, you have Tyreek Hill being the 2 huge playmakers there. There's a good chance that they are able to find a lot of open space playing alongside each other. I think this is an offense that could certainly surprise people that are down on Tua. And they're only getting 4% ownership, again, with a 7% chance of being the top scoring stack. Number 2, the Kansas City Chiefs taking on the Arizona Cardinals in Arizona. 29.5 implied total for Kansas City. They are 5.5-point favorites. Patrick Mahomes is projected for about 8% ownership. The stack has about a 14% chance of being the top scoring stack and an 11% chance of being the top value stack. While Mahomes is getting ownership at 8%, I think it's going to be pretty easy to differentiate within this stack because there's a lot of uncertainty, and there will continue to be a lot of uncertainty week to week in how targets are going to be distributed. But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't take shots at one of the best offenses in football. It just means that you have to live with the fact that there's going to be a lot of volatility, and there's going to be some frustrating weeks where you have Juju and you need Valdez-Scantling, or you have Valdez-Scantling and you need Hardman, or whatever it may be. But that allows you to differentiate pretty easily within this stack. It's more difficult, if you're stacking. I don't have a great example off the top of my head, but let's say Dallas, especially right now while they're banged up. If you're running Dallas stacks, unless you're just going completely off the board, you and everybody else stacking Dallas are going to have Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, some combination of Jalen Tolbert or Noah Brown or Dalton Schultz. When you talk about the Chiefs and the uncertainty here, you can use it to your advantage because you can pair Mahomes with any of Valdez-Scantling, Juju, Hardman, Sky Moore. Obviously, Travis Kelce is the most reliable piece here, but it makes it so that, if the field is leaning towards Juju and we haven't actually seen how this plays out, you can take more shots on Valdez-Scantling or vice versa. And also, all of those guys are pretty inexpensive on DraftKings. Travis Kelce leads the way at 6,600, but of the receivers, Juju is the most expensive at 5,200, Valdez-Scantling 4,700, Hardman 4,600, Sky Moore 3,800. Week 1 really gives you a chance to go after this team and embrace the uncertainty, because we're going to have more information going into week 2 than we do now. We're going to have more going into week 3 than we did week 2. And as a result, not only is the field going to have a better idea of who to play, but prices are going to adjust as well. Right now, pricing is just pretty much saying, hey, we don't know who's going to get the bulk of the targets here. So we're kind of going to just price it like nobody is. And realistically, within any given game, at least one of these receivers is going to get a lot of Patrick Mahomes targets, which is really valuable. So really, really like the way this sets up in tournaments for a variety of reasons. And number 1, the Philadelphia Eagles taking on the Detroit Lions in Detroit. Eagles are 4-point favorites, 26.3 implied total. They are projected, or Jalen Hurts, I should say, is projected for 10% ownership. The stack has about a 10% chance of being the top scoring stack, also about a 10% chance of being the top value stack. This is another really interesting stack to me. I was pretty heavy on the Eagles in best ball because I think that there's a lot of ways for them to be successful. Jalen Hurts, we know, offers you a lot of upside as a rusher. So that's obviously really useful in DFS. If you're stacking Hurts with A.J. Brown or Devontae Smith, clearly you can have big games where Hurts runs for a couple of touchdowns, then just so happens throws 1 or 2 to whichever receiver you have. If you have more than one receiver, you're probably going to prefer that he do more work through the air, but could still get there, 1 touchdown to Smith, 1 to Brown, and then runs for 1 himself. But there's a lot of ways for that offense to get there. And then there's also a chance, this is another situation where I think there's a relatively high likelihood that we look at this offense much differently going into week 2 and into later weeks than we are in week 1. Last year, they were a rush heavy offense. I think there's a strong assumption that's going to be the case again this year. But they did add A.J. Brown. They have a very strong receiving core between Smith, Brown, and Dallas Goedert at tight end. You could realistically just see them throwing the ball more, and that would be great for these stacks. And it's something where there's a good chance, I think, that looking back on week one, people are saying, all right, we need to adjust the way we view this Eagles offense. So there's a lot of ways to get there, whether they are throwing it more, whether Jalen Hurts gets there with his legs. I mean, we saw last year him have some big fantasy games in very creative ways where he managed to get down several touchdowns early and then just score a million points in the second half. That's always possible as well. But this team offers plenty of upside here for one reason or another against Detroit. So to recap, the top 3 tournament stacks on DraftKings for NFL Week 1. Number 3, the Miami Dolphins. Number 2, the Kansas City Chiefs. And number 1, the Philadelphia Eagles.